I'm not sure if anyone's here, so give it a little bit of time. Hey, here we are again, Sebastian, just me and you. Good morning. Well, at least I got it going, right? Oh my gosh, I forgot my tissues and I got such a runny nose. Oh, there's somebody else. Hello, Professor Cat Mom. Oh, Valerie. Hi, Valerie. There's only three of us. Oh, yeah, there's only three of us. The cough. Oh, and is that and Gabriel Romero? Are you Gabriel? I keep thinking your name is Gabriel, but I want to make sure. But hi. um, my cough is just persistent. And oh, wow, look at all you, Allie. Oh my goodness, Gabriel, great. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that anybody showed up. you guys, you guys are awesome. The cover, hey, oh, okay. Well, one thing that I really find annoying when I'm watching a live is that the person is just constantly looking at the chat feed, and because it's a distraction from what's supposed to be happening. But this is my first one, and I want to acknowledge everyone, the Conver hats. I'm so grateful that anybody showed up. So you guys are awesome. Holly, oh my gosh. Everybody, thank you for being here. Well, I don't know how long I'm going to last today because I'm really not feeling very well. I don't, I haven't been feeling well all week, and I don't know if today is a little bit of a combination of nerves. Although I have to give credit and thanks to my friend Sebastian, who spent hours yesterday, literally, with me, chatting between Facebook and trying to get this going. Now, it was pretty simple to get this part. What Sebastian and I were trying to do was to include another person in a chat, because there may come times when I'd like to have a guest or something, but we, on my end, couldn't figure it out. But this part is looks like it's pretty easy, so there's no trouble in doing this. And if you guys are interested, oh, thank you for putting the alarm clock on. For those of you who think this might be a fun thing, then I'll try to make it a point of doing it, semi-monthly, semi-annually, semi-weekly. I know people's lives get busy, and I don't want to make anybody feel obligated to 10 o'clock on a Sunday. And people go to church. I forgot all about that, because I'm not a church going person. But it occurred to me, oh my gosh, there's probably people who are, attending mass or something that can't go, can't show up. But anyway, thank you, Sebastian, for everything, and thank you for my member. If you're here, you're a member, and I appreciate. If you're chatting, you're a member. I think with members, with a members chat, only members can chat, but everybody can see it. I think that's how it works. Now, because I'm not feeling well, my big goal, and I'm not really able to keep up on here. What I'm gonna have to do is read the chats later, and I will answer everybody. I promise I will answer everyone. I'm really good at keeping up with answering people. And Sebastian is also, I think he's also my moderator. I hope I hooked him up to be a moderator last night. I hope it translates to today. We'll find out. But what I was thinking originally that I really like to do some readings, and I think that would be a good thing to do for, my members would be if somebody has something, a question that they'd like to have read on. I think that would be a good thing. Maybe I could handle like one or two during a during a live chat, and then maybe do something else. But today I'm not like feeling, I got my have a pounder of a headache. My stomach is just in knots, and I don't think I'd give anybody my best today. I will have a video show later in today. Oh, wait till you see this one. it's it was pre-recorded. I already did it. I did it a couple of days ago. But I've been playing around with my computer with my phone, and because I'm trying desperately to be able to advance myself, and I don't have anyone to teach me. My kids are worse than I am when it comes to this stuff. They know how to make spreadsheets for work and stuff like that, but they're not like YouTubers or anything. And oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? See, this is great that it's live because somebody will remind me. What was I talking about? Anybody? Oh well. This is your introduction to live, and you are doing great. Oh, okay, thanks. Well, I forget what I was talking about. But in any case, I did come up with a topic that I thought might be interesting. Oh, the video that I am going to premiere later. Okay, it's the video that I'm just releasing later. And I've been trying really hard to like play around with, YouTube and figure out how to do things. And so, because I have a lot of faux pas where I say one word, but it's really another, or I call a card one thing and then it's really another. I thought I have to really figure out how to put words, in front of, so that if I make a faux pas, I can alert everyone. I'm aware that I made the faux pas. So I did that on this new video that you're going to see later on today. So I have a bunch of like words popping up. What is it? Like a little knowledge of something is not a good thing. But it was kind of interesting. And then I even learned how to splice it. So there was something that was I should have spliced the beginning too. For your own sakes, probably for the video that comes later on today, probably just start watching it at around 3 o'clock because I kind of ramble on a little bit in the beginning. But what I discovered was when you edit a video, I did the editing on I have a Galaxy S23, so it's a couple years old. It's like 2 years old. It's paid for, I think. It's already paid for. So it's old enough to be paid for. But I'm the kind of person who uses something until it no longer serves me, I mean, not a person, but like an object. My car I bought it, my father bought it from my mother in 1999. I'm still driving it. So it still serves me. I have no reason to buy a new car. I got a great car, at any rate. So I did some editing on here. And when I tried to upload it on YouTube, it took like 30 hours. And not that it took 30 hours to upload. I just realized very early on that it wasn't going to upload. And that happened to me once before. And what I ended up doing was I waited 24 hours, and then the next day it went up like nothing. So when I created this edited video, which you'll see later today, when I saw that it was having the same problem, I thought, okay, I'll just wait about 24 to 36 hours, redid it, and it just went right up. And so, so if anybody can understand that, if you can put it down there below, I'd really appreciate understanding why that happens or what I could do to avoid that, or I probably won't understand anything you say anyway. So today's topic, because I don't think my head is clear enough to do readings, but there's been some good ideas. Gabriel, I think you had a really good idea about exploring where we go, or not where we go, but is there any level of consciousness immediately after? And I've never had an NDE, or near-death experience. I've never had one of those. So I don't know from firsthand experience what that's like, or if, and beyond that, because the people who come back from a near-death experience, Are they dead? I'm not sure, you know. We've never really had a conversation with somebody. Well, we have, and sometimes we feel we do have communication with people who have moved on, but that's just our faith in, yes, that, yeah, it was you, Gabriel. I thought so. I want to, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. I was just saying that I just don't think I can handle something so important today because, you know, I've got a head cold that's pounding. I've got a stomach that's like cooperating for now. But that is one that I want to do for sure, Gabriel. So I thought today I'd keep it light and fluffy to some degree, not stupid, but kind of easy. And that was like decks that I have, but I hardly ever reach for, or that I wish I reached for more often. And there's probably a few dozen more that fit this category. And for now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have maybe 10 or something like that, maybe less than 10. Well, one of them is one I just pulled out recently, which is the Playing Marseille by Ryan Edward. And I've had it. I mean, it came out in 2020. I got it when it came out. It was probably a Kickstarter. I'm not positive if it was a Kickstarter, but I think it might have been. And if it was, I'm pretty sure I supported it. And I really like it. It's, for those of you who may have seen a recent video I did using it, it's, you know, it utilizes the French icons for the suits, right? But it honors the tradition of Marseille. And I just love it. I really like using this deck a lot. And, you know, I'm going to put it in my rotation cabinet to use it more often because how often do I go through my deck cabinet? Well, this is why I wanted to do this video, because it forced me to go through my deck cabinets. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces of furniture. And I like to keep them, I don't put anything on shelves, you know, because I have a thing about the sun. Now I do have northern exposure, so the sun is, my light that I get in this room is just perfect. It's not too bright and it's not too hot when I want to come in here in the summer. And so it wouldn't do too much damage probably if I had books out, but the sun does damage, you know. So everything is in a cabinet, everything is closed, because if you were to walk in my tarot parlor, you might not even realize, well, I mean, the giveaway would be, you know, that it was kind of like a metaphysical kind of room because there's stuff all over the walls, and I have knickknacks all over, you know, knickknacks, you know, what, you know, I have candles lit and I have stones. So people would probably figure out that this is a woo-woo room, you know, but you wouldn't necessarily know that there were tarot cards in the cabinets, because I just really like to keep them protected from the sun. And this deck that I just showed you is a deck that I really like to use more often, and I think I will. It has a nice book, and it's just succinct and to the point. I've said it before. If a book has to be 800 or 900 pages to describe something, then the person writing the book doesn't grasp the concept. That's my opinion. I don't know. That sounds harsh, but you know, give me the idea and I'll figure it out. I'll go the rest of the way. Another one, this one I think will surprise you, is this one is Le Grand Circus and Sideshow Tarot by, what's his name? Joe Lee. I love it. It's comical, you know. Now it is Rider-Waite-Smith tradition, which, you know, I mean, I'm not poo-pooing Rider-Waite-Smith. You know, it's not my primary jam. You know, but I use it enough. You see me use, you know, Rider-Waite-Smith tradition cards, but I just get a kick out of this deck. I really do. I don't know if they're not in any kind of order, but I don't know if it's still in print. It must be. Who published this? This was put out by U.S. Game Systems. but it's a fun deck, and I like using it. And another one, now, like if we're talking about like old school kind of cards, I think I recently showed this one, the Vernano. I was showing this when I was talking about the Bizarro, Tarocco Bizarro, and also the Rosenwald Redux, excuse me. And so I pointed this, it made me think of this one because this one was the first time that a butterfly appeared on a full card. And so I pulled this one out. And now I have this one in my circulation. I really like this deck. And I like the quality of the cardstock too. There's something, when a cardstock is satisfying, like this one shuffles like a dream. This one was published by Giordano Berti. And until the Metelli came out, this was probably my favorite deck. I really loved it. Oh, I have another one that I didn't pull, the Hess. The Hess Tarot. I think that one's a German one. I showcased it here. Do you have patience enough for me to get up and go see if I can find it? It'd probably take me about less than 30 seconds. Okay, I think I have your permission. Let me go do it real fast. So it's less than 30 seconds, right? I'm here. So here's the Hess. And I like this one a lot because the faces are so great. The faces on this deck are just so great. And the colors are just wonderful. I mean, look at that Death Card's face. You gotta love him, right? For the most part, though, to answer your question, and I think Gabriel's question, I don't really go routinely through my cabinets, every day or anything like that. If I want to do a reading and then I think, oh, I have a perfect deck for that, then I'll go look for the particular deck that I think would be a good fit for the reading. Or maybe there's just a deck I feel like using, and then I know where it is. But for the most part, what I have right next to me is a cabinet that can keep about 20 cards at the same time. And those are ones that I've put in the cabinet, and then I'll use them a bit and then I'll put them back in their cabinets and bring more out. I just started doing that the past couple of months or weeks maybe, so that I can circulate my decks more. Now, not just because he gave me this deck, not just because he gave it to me, but Sebastian bought me Desert Illuminations Tarot. And I really get a kick out of it because it's got aliens. And I love it. And I'm not much of a Southwest. I'm from the Northeast. You know what I'm saying? I was born in New York City and raised in Philadelphia, so I'm definitely a Northeast girl. My mother was from Philly. My father was from New York, and I was born there. So, my culture is Northeast. So I don't identify with the culture from the Southwest. But I also like tarot, sometimes for education, and I'll learn myths that I wasn't aware of. And this is one of those decks that does it for me. Aside from, well, of course, I'm not picking cards that are showing. See, like something like that. When I see something like that, it before I will use the deck, I'll make sure that I'll read something about it in the descriptive area to see, what it's referencing or whatever. Plus, it's so happy and cheery. It feels good. And can we get an alien? No, not quite an alien. But I enjoy using this one. I enjoy it. I think it's kind of fun. Now, Tell me if you guys are content with this or if you'd like me to change the topic. I'm not seeing too many conversations. The last thing I see was Gabriel's question about how often do I go through my deck collection. And I don't want to continue doing this if nobody's interested. Also, let me know if there's anything annoying, like commercials. I'm sure I turned off. I wonder if I turned off monetization. I meant to do that. I meant to turn it off. So I don't know. So please let me know if there's if it's obnoxious with commercials or not. If it's not, most of my videos, even the ones that are monetized, what I do is there's an option for having commercials in the middle of the content or just having it at the beginning and the end. And I opt always for just having it in the beginning and just having it in the end so that you can skip through them without having to watch them. So I always deliberately choose not to have commercials in the middle. So if you're seeing commercials in the middle of my regular premieres, let me know, because that's not supposed to be what happens. So I'm not seeing any conversation beyond what Gabriel asked about my cabinet, the decks in my cabinets. Big jug of vitamin C, orange juice. Okay, another one. I really like this one. It's along the lines with the surrealistic tarot. I bought that a couple of months ago. And it's one that I really connect with my dad with, because my father loves surrealistic art. And a lot of the messages that come through nail it with, communication with him. But of the pre-surrealist, this one, I have a Hieronymus Bosch tarot. I think that was put out decades ago by Lo Scarabeo, which, was just came in a little tuck box. And it was inspired by Bosch's art. I think this one actually has, the Lo Scarabeo deck was inspired by Bosch, so that the artist recreated scenes to depict the cards in the spirit of Bosch. This one actually uses Bosch's art, and it's got just like his triptych, right? It has this triptych opening, which I think is very clever, very satisfying. And you could get really lost in these cards. And look at this blue. It's got the blue gilding, which I love. And then it's got probably the Garden of Earthly Delights. I'm guessing that, yeah, that's what that looks like. And what he did was he isolated images from the paintings of Bosch, and then he uses those to represent the concepts. The interesting thing that I call Bosch out on is the die. The sides of a die will equal 7. So to have a 5 and a 2 seems like a detail he should have known, right? I mean, he's so detail oriented. So then it makes me wonder if that was intentional, right? To show a 5 and a 2, as something that's unlikely, impossible, not based on truth or reality. And I wonder if he used that deliberately. So this is a fun one. I guess it's more fun for meditation. Some of you, I think maybe you pull out tarot for meditation. For meditation purposes. I do. Sometimes when I just feel like taking my brain someplace, I'll pull out a deck like this and just look at the pictures, I love this deck. I mean, if I were to say what are my favorite decks, it would be the Metelli and it would be the, Anonymous Tarot of Paris. Definitely. And this particular, I have a couple versions of the Anonymous Tarot of Paris, but this one is easier for my eyes to see. This one was published by the Museo Internazionale del Tarocchi, and I think it's in northern Italy. I'm not, I think it might, is it in Milan? I'm not really sure where it is. I'm not really sure where the museum is. But they've made the images really easy to see. And they're a little bit larger. The only thing I don't like about this deck is the backs. The backs, I don't know where they got their backs from. So just so you guys know, I'm not seeing your chats. I have a feeling maybe you're chatting, but I'm not seeing the chats. So what I'm going to do is, I promise I will go after this is over and I'll read and I'll answer everything. If I haven't answered it, I'll go back and answer them. Or comment anyway. So here are the backs, which what does that have to do with the Anonymous Tarot of Paris? I just don't get it. So I don't like the backs at all. But for those of you familiar with the Anonymous Tarot of Paris, it's a great deck and it has so many references. This is like to 1500s, Italian theater, like the Fool and the Innkeeper. And I have a book that I've shown. I didn't think to pull it. If I can find it just by looking, I'll grab it. But, well, I have showcased it before, and it's probably, I don't know. I apologize. If I can find it, I'll put it in the comment section or the description area later. But you can clearly see what's going on in the pictures. And the book is good because the book gives you how sometimes you get a tarot deck and you really like the images, and then you go to look at the information, what the artist is trying to get you to think, right? Or not get you to think, but I like to understand, like if there's an image that I just don't get, like why did they pick that image for that card? I appreciate it when the artist will give you an explanation, or this is what my thought process was. It's very helpful. Like when I do my signature spread, right? I wouldn't normally express as I do it all the time. When I read for myself, I don't talk to myself. I just lay the cards. But when I'm trying to teach a spread or I'm trying to teach anything, I try to show my thought process, right? So I really appreciate knowing a thought process. And of course, the people who wrote this book weren't there when this deck was created, but they share insightful research that could give us an idea of what's going on. And we especially, can see it in something like this, the Chariot that's led by a swan. And I don't know, this is a cool deck. It's the Anonymous Tarot of Paris. I wish I would use more often. Maybe it's a big one, so it's like not one I probably will handily put in this cabinet because it'll take up the space of 3 or 4 other decks. Here's one that I think the only time I ever showcased it, like the only time I ever used it on my channel was to showcase it, and it's the Postmodern Deck Tarot by, what was his name? I apologize. Brian Williams, who passed away not too long ago. Oh, well, probably, within the past 20 years, I think he passed away. And I think it's clever. Postmodern. It's a postmodern deck. So you see, it makes associations with with common things that most people, can identify with. Mr. Religion. I don't think there's anything wrong with this one, the Lover's card. The Wheels card for the Chariot. This one has a weapon in her hand for justice, so I'm going to cover the weapon. But I think it's clever that it's called Just Desserts. And this one. Out of it. I can't readily call to mind what they're getting at with the Hermit there. Out of it. So could it just be somebody who's kind of at the end of their rope? Let me see if I can quickly. Oh my gosh, and I just happened to turn to the Hermit out of it. So he's flashing, he cannot afford or does not care for the wardrobe and personal grooming, blah, blah, blah. His electric torch searches out a path in the darkness, a bit of truth from obscurity. Well, it's a very long-winded description. He represents the hermetic contemplative, retiring, the mystic and monastic. He suggests peripatetic Diogenes. Okay. Searching for just one honest man. Searching for one honest man. That's what it is. Okay. We have the Wheel of Fortune. So I kind of like this because people who aren't familiar with tarot, if you do a reading for them, it could bring concepts to the surface for them. And it's not so intimidating, well, as some tarot decks might be. One of the reasons why I don't use this deck, I'm sure. And here's it was left in the box. Come on, you gotta love it. Is because because it's old. I bought it used. It was in excellent condition. It was in pristine condition, but the packaging is so freaking tight that had I not taken this out of the box before the video, I'd still be here trying to take it out. Like, you see how the packaging is like this. When these kind of like book things were popular back in the day, where you had like a few volumes of a book in one kind of container, so you have them all together, it's really hard to get these out. And I do. Well, maybe there's one more. This is already a half an hour. And I have no idea how you guys feel because I can't see any of your chats. Oh, wait. Oh, I have to scroll up. Oh my gosh, I feel like an idiot. How do you decide to finally get rid of a deck? Here's the thing. I've never gotten rid of a deck. I've never gotten rid of a deck. The only decks that maybe I'll pass on are to my daughter, because it's in the family, it stays within my blood, or my grandchildren, and it's not that I necessarily give them decks I don't like, but I'll give them decks that I think they like, or that they've expressed it. Oh, this is good, or this, I like this. So I have a few, my daughter reads Rider-Waite-Smith. That's where, Waite Coleman Smith, that's what she prefers, as much as I try to persuade her. I mean, here she has a mom who does this, right? But at any rate, so she prefers Rider-Waite-Smith. And so if I have a duplicate, if I get a duplicate of something, sometimes people don't know what to get me for Christmas or whatever. And they say, oh, she reads tarot. So they just buy me, tarot decks, which I'm grateful for. It's great. But usually they're decks that either I already have or, I'm not really interested in them. And I'll just say, do you like this deck? Because if you'd like it, you can have it. It's like, it's not my forte. I'm honest. I'm not trying to push off a deck. But that's that. Let's see. Well, see, you already have 23 decks. See, isn't that funny? It's like, well, when I first started, I probably had a half a dozen because it was a different time. It was the 70s, and in those days, there wasn't a whole lot of tarot. There was just the few that came on the scene. So there were some from, U.S. Game Systems, Inc. Mostly it was like either Rider-Waite-Smith or this one. But then a few would trickle in, like there was the Spanish tarot that trickled in. And then the Fournier, I think that trickled in at some point, the colorful Marseille. I have that around here somewhere. I might have already put it back. And then the classic tarot, or was it classic tarot or tarot classic? I think it was tarot classic. So then I had those, I had those. Those were my staples because those were all, those were all pip, and that's what I really wanted. And I don't even think I ever got around to buying a Rider-Waite-Smith. I think my first Rider-Waite-Smith was the Albano-Waite-Smith deck. Was the Albano-Waite. And I think that was my first one, although I do have a box for the blushing. It was either the Blushing Fool or the Blushing Magician. It was that. I identify it as, I think it was the Blushing Fool, but the cards weren't in there. And I have a feeling that one's probably worth a little bit of money. But so I had that. But I don't know what happened to it. It must have, in those days, because sometimes I would go to venues, I would do events, and sometimes cards went missing. And I'm meticulous with my cards, and I don't know how that ever happened, but I guess it happens. And so if I had, a card that went missing, or if the wind blew it and I couldn't, I would make projects. Like I would do a craft using the cards, because in those days, who thought in 50 years this deck is going to be worth something, So that some of them may have been casualties to that. I don't think she does, Pamela. I don't get rid of mine either. Yeah, I don't really, but if you've been here for any length of time, you've seen me do a number of readings using the Pamela Smith decks. Oh, Celestial. Yeah, you like it. Yeah, I like it too. I love my circus deck. Now, I'm not sure why some of these comments like haha and oh my or something like that, but the Vernano. Yeah, that's Vernano with a G. And if we're talking about the same thing. I think if that's what you're talking about. G in Italian is silent, I'm pretty sure. I had a cousin with an Italian last name and a really long Italian last name, and the G is silent. That's how I know. Oh yeah, my chair is great. I have a wonderful chair, very comfy. Yeah, I love the faces on the Madine too. I do like it. And I guess I don't use it that much because everybody uses it a lot, But yeah, I do. I like it. It's got nice, it's definitely refinement. A true prime minister, a true prime minister chair. Well, it's comfortable, and I'm in this room like for a long period of time. I mean, I sit here all day sometimes. Maybe I just release an hour video, or not even, like a half hour, 40-minute video. And but I'm here because I do research, or I pull together ideas. Sometimes some of my videos seem pretty scattered, and I admit a lot of them are. Because a lot of what I say just comes to me and I just talk, which is probably why I don't have 40,000 viewers. You guys have revved me up. You guys have got me feeling better. Isn't that great? You guys are great. Yeah, the Madini is a great deck, no question about it, with a cheeky sense of humor. Yep. From the Arizona-Mexico border. And let's see. My favorite car is the cow abducted by aliens. I love that card. I love that one too. That one is so funny. It popped up in a reading I did a couple of months ago, and it was just like, it made me laugh out loud. It is a deck with a lot of humor, which is why I love it. Which is definitely why I love it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let's see. We'll try to add all the decks I'm showing today. socks off. That's a lot of work, man. God bless you. God bless you, Sebastian. And I can't thank Sebastian enough. I don't know if I remembered to thank him in the beginning, but he was really there for me yesterday, and you all were, because I know I chatted back and forth like, I think I'm going to have a live today or tomorrow and 10 o'clock, and would love to see your cabinets. Well, I have to straighten them out. That's not a bad idea. I will. I'll make an effort to do that. Enjoy seeing any and all of your decks. Thank you. Who was that from? That was Professional Cat Mom. Professor Cat Mom. I apologize. People like the Noble. Pamela likes the Noble. I have yet to own one, and I've been eyeing Marco's decks. Well, I haven't shown, I don't think, any from Marco in this. Well, I have one here that I want to show more often by Marco. And I have dozens of Marco's decks. I've been collecting Marco's decks since he was on Playcraft. What is it? Card Crafter and Make Playing Cards, when he was doing it that way. But of all my deck creators, I have the most from him, without a question. Second is probably Giordano Berti, because I was collecting Giordano Berti before I ever heard of, Marco, because Giordano was, producing the historic tarot decks. But the Charles VI, I love this deck. Now, there is one that was put out by Lo Scarabeo, and unfortunately the pip cards are Rider-Waite-Smith based, because I guess, this was back in maybe the 90s, early 20s, when we started getting decks like the artistic decks, like the Bosch deck, and, not this one that I showed you, but the one I was referencing, and then, the Charles VI, where they satisfied those of us who wanted to see artistic decks, but they couldn't help it but put the Rider-Waite-Smith slant on it. So when this one came out, of course, it's more authentic, right? Now, the thing with Marco's deck is that when he does personal decks like this, when it says personal, where's the lid? Does it say personal? No, it doesn't say personal. But it's not uncommon for Marco to, and these decks aren't in order, but sometimes cards are lost. I mean, we're talking about like 600-year-old cards, right? So sometimes cards are lost. And so what he does is he takes, pips or images for the missing cards from other decks that were out at that period of time. So it's not incongruent, and it's possible that, the pips would have been similar. So, and I appreciate this deck, because although the pips might not be in some of the courts, in some of the Triumph cards, this obviously looks like it came from someplace else, maybe Diesti. I'm not positive. Okay, this one, I have some notes on the backs of some, so this one came from a Visconti deck. It says, from Fournier's museum, replaced with a cross and key. So he may have made some alteration to this card that came from a Visconti deck. See, now this one doesn't look like it probably came, but it was from a deck that was similar in time. So I appreciate that. I mean, it's as close as we're going to get. I think the and doesn't this remind you of the Rosenwald, like the Rosenwald coins, right? I think most of the Triumphs are present in the Charles VI. There's and I'm sorry, I'm like not keeping up. Now that I know what you're doing, now that I know I have to scroll up, I was wondering if you incorporate other types of divination in your practice, such as runes or I Ching. I have I Ching sets. I have runes, but it's not my forte. I have them like to, and I've showcased them. I don't know if I've ever, I don't know if I've ever showcased my I Ching. My ex-husband bought me a beautiful I Ching set. Beautiful. But it's around here somewhere. But the problem with me uh, is that my brain is wired a certain way, and I'm very adept at making connections. This is what I bonded with. I bonded with tarot, and from a young age, and I think I've reached I'll admit I've reached the stage in my life where I'm too old to teach an old dog, new tricks. I've passed that mark, and I mean, I'm not bragging about it. I think it's just unfortunate, but the things that make connections for me, I think, because in the beginning of the year, for some of you who've been with me long, yeah, I do use pendulums. I do use pendulums. Oops. I want to be careful because I don't want to end up like hitting a button that takes you off if that happens, it was a mistake. If I disappear, if I'm trying to scroll and there's like everything is so close to each other. So if I accidentally hit a button and it disappears, I just want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for being here and for the time that we've had together. I sound like Carol Burnett. And I forget what I was talking about. Marilyn, check, create, question. With somebody's question. What question? Create. I was wondering if you incorporate. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I touched on that. So I do have those sets, and I did like play around with them. Play around. I use them, and I personally. But the only thing. Oh, and then the beginning of the year, one of my New Year's resolutions was to do Lenormand. Do a Lenormand. Work myself up to a Lenormand tableau. I bought the cloth. I bought a beautiful. I probably have maybe 24 Lenormand decks, so it's not like I haven't looked at them. Have you seen me do a Lenormand tableau? That was my New Year's resolution. Did you ever see it? Because I haven't. So, I'm just too old, I guess. I'm not, like I said, I'm not bragging about it. And it's just not how, okay, we're going to get into story time. Not a story, but it's like, some of you may be aware when I was a kid, I would see things, I would have visions, nobody else saw things, and it was not acceptable. It was not okay, and even as an adult, and depending on the homes I lived in, the first house I bought with, my first home with my first husband and the kids, oh man, that house was occupied, but it was okay because the person was very nice, and the person, I think, saved my life one time. But when you're a person like who receives information, it gets to be, you can go mad, It's not like I was like the kid in I See Dead People, what was the name of that movie? You know what I'm talking about. But it wasn't not quite like that, but information comes from all over the place, like I'll be just sitting and then a thought will come into my head because I'll hear something and then I'll just say it and everybody's like looking at me like, huh? That kind of thing. So what I discovered was that I made a deal with the universe, was like, let the information come through that way. So I've unfortunately managed to turn things off, I mean, I get feelings when I go into places, and if I try to tune in, I can. And if there's a case, sometimes like crime, if something really touches me, if something really touches my heart, I'll allow things to come in. But I try to channel that information using the cards so that there's a boundary. I put up a boundary. I'm like, okay, guys, I'll come in through the cards if you're invited, And so that's why I think That's why I think I just bond it with tarot, because it allows me to channel information coming in. And no astrology, man. I'm not good at that. I never, I and again, I'm not proud of it. I'm not bragging. It's just that my brain doesn't work that way. Okay, I know she also used dice. Yes, pendulums, crystal. I have my scrying ball, which is behind this camera. So the reason I wasn't able to see your messages was because I was brand new to this. I was trying to scroll up in the middle of the screen. But I have to be on the bottom. But they designed it badly, because the bottom of the screen is where all the buttons are, where I can make a mistake. I don't want to. I think I do have a playlist about pendulums. I think you're right. Who said that? Gabriel. I think that's true. I think I do. I'll make sure she responds to your question for future lives. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Sebastian will be on it. Are you showing up as a? Yeah, you are showing up as a moderator, so it worked. I'm just thinking out loud. But, oh, let's keep going. This is fun. Thank you. I'm glad you think this is fun. Unless you're not talking to me, Gabriel. I'm not sure you're talking to you. I was wondering if Marilyn or anyone else uses this too. My Rider-Waite Smith are in storage. I prefer Pip. Yeah, I do too. And people like initially are intimidated, or they think it's scary, but it's so much easier. I'll say this. I don't know any different, because this is what I learned on. This is what I taught myself. I didn't even learn it. I mean, I had to teach myself. I walked 10 miles to school, but so this is like this is a system that really makes sense to me. And sometimes when I'm using Rider-Waite Smith and I see a card and you're just locked into one meeting, when that card, like, I'm just going to pull like the Three of Swords, an example. There's so many things that Three Swords could suggest. But when you're doing a reading for somebody and they see Three Swords that look like that, you're sort of locked in. So I'm not saying that Pips are easier, because I guess they're not, because there's a whole lot of other options. So then you have to be able to recall all the other options. So I guess in that regard, it makes it a little harder. But it gives you freedom to pick the option that fits for that suggestion, for that scenario. Oh, okay, the 007. Yeah, that's a great deck, Holly. One JJ Swiss, an angel. Where's my angel? I have it right here. I just started pulling this one out again. They are oldies and goodies. She said to me yesterday she wasn't sure what she would talk about, and look at her. Oh, yeah, would you get me started? I never shut up. Yeah, the oldies are good. The oldies are great. I think the Fernando Fool looks like who playing golf. Oh my God, you're so right. Yeah, the personal mudroom. Yep, was a great one too. And that's another one where there's many additional cards that you can pick and choose. For the cards that are missing from the deck. Marco includes a lot of options. And even for some of the cards that aren't missing in the deck, he'll have some options if you want to switch it out. Okay, how's Marco's Visconti? Well, okay. The only time I've pulled it out was to the Visconti Sforza homage deck, is what Gabriel's referencing. The only times I've pulled it out was to do videos. I'm going to pull it out for an end of the year read. I will pull it out for that, because I decided I want to use that for the end of the year, or well, not for the end of the year, rather, excuse me, for insights, like things to look for in the new year, or things to keep our eye open for. And when I do that video, things to keep our eyes on, I'll put down last year's video, a link to last year's video that I did for this year. I'm not going to go do a review of it or anything like that, because I'll just put the link down there so that you can see some of the things I said for 2025 and whatever came to fruition and whatever didn't. Let's see, how's Marco's? Yeah, so that's that. I think it's called old age. Yeah, I agree. I admit. I think that's probably it. It's old. I can't teach this old dog new tricks, and I'm content and I'm happy and it works for me. And leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And astrology, it's crazy because back in the day, I came up in the age of when astrology was like new age everything, and I could have latched onto it at that time. And I had a big tome on astrology. I think it was Linda Goodman's astrology book. If you remember that book, everybody had that book. Everybody in the 70s and or the early 80s. I don't know if it was the early 80s or late 70s. But and I just know, like, I'm a Leo, you know. Part of, I mean, I guess, but a human being is so nuanced and there's so many. And I guess they can say, well, it all depends on what moon is here or whatever, ascendant or whatever. And that's, it could be true, I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just saying that my brain can't figure that stuff out, and it's just, so when I see that kind of symbolism on cards, for tarot, I just disregard it because I give myself permission not to worry about it. Yeah, I collect them too. I do collect them. No, not tea leaf, but I have a tea leaf cup over here somewhere in honor of Josepha, if some of you may recall, was my great grandmother, who was one of the, thoughts behind this channel to create a channel for my descendants because she was somebody I knew nothing about. And she read tarot cards and she read tea leaves. She was a marginalized woman for sure. And I think she was a maid, but she did fortune telling. Now I don't, I'm not, I don't know that I do fortune telling. I just, the way I've always kind of prefaced it was not as a fortune teller, but here are ideas that you might consider food for thought moving forward with a situation or a question or something like that. But I think, she did it as a fortune telling gig to make money. So I don't do it, but it's in my blood, I guess. It's in my family tree. So that, Marilyn, it was 10:47 when you'll reach that message. I don't even know what that means. You'll have to explain that to me later. I have a friend who is a tea leaf reader. The Sixth Sense, yes. Okay, so I'm kind of behind. Three of Swords, yep. Well, you're afraid. Who said this? I'm afraid of picking up the wrong meetings. Professor Cat Mom. Trust yourself. If something comes through, just trust yourself. Every now and then, like I'll see something, like the video I think you're going to see, was it today? That you're going to see later today? I get confused, but one card, I think it was the Five of Swords, and I was using this deck, so I don't know if I think it's coming, I think it's the one I was talking about earlier today. When I saw the Five of Swords, the first thing I thought was a mishandling of like public announcements or like news, like manipulation of the news. Well, the Five of Swords wouldn't necessarily mean that. And but that came to my head immediately, So sometimes I'll tell you what, if something comes into your head, it's been my experience that when I see something and I think, oh, that's crazy, I'm not going to say that, right? It's been my experience that later when the person gives me feedback, they'll tell me, well, you were pretty close, except, this happened. And I'd be like, that is what I saw. That is what I saw. And I didn't say it. So trust yourself. And I say it. I say, maybe this sounds like it's out there, but this is what I'm getting. And, chances, it's been my experience when I don't say those things, that's when it really was true. I I had that book. Yeah, you must be talking about the Linda Goodmans. Yeah, thank you for referencing the numerology playlist. That's a good playlist. See, that's a good playlist. Don't be worried about being wrong, Valerie. And until you feel like you're ready to take the show on the road, like to do for money, you did. Sometimes like don't. It's kind of dangerous, I guess. Not dangerous, but it's kind of it's a great tool for yourself, right? Because you know yourself and you know every angle of a situation you're in. But we're not always really objective with ourselves. And when we do readings for other people, we can be objective because we don't know every angle of every situation. Oh, I'm good. I caught up. Yay. Good. So I was on a yarn. I get kind of caught up and then I forget what I'm talking about. Yeah, but the numerology playlists. What I shared with you what I did for myself because I had to come up with something. Everything that was back in the day for like Three of Swords, right? Everything was Rider-Waite-Smith, right? But it was just like, well, I'm not looking at that. I'm saying Three Swords. So then I just got books on. Well, I got books on like Renaissance and medieval numerology. And then I got books on like math, which I'm fascinated by math and I love math, but I can't even add anymore. I got Pinky over here. So, yeah, don't be afraid, Valerie. And there are a lot of different meanings. Some of you may realize that when you do readings for other people and they think they're being really clever and they won't tell you their question because they want to test the psychic. Well, first of all, I'm not a psychic, but if I don't know what the question is, every card is going to have a lot of different meanings, Now, sometimes I can kind of, if I'm present with the person in particular, or if I am aware of the person, maybe I do readings for people that I'm familiar with. I'm not with them in the room, but I know their life a little bit, or I have a feeling or something, or I have a bond. But if there's a person who I don't know, right, and they ask for a reading, but they just say they want a general reading, I respect that, and they get a general reading. But if you really have something in mind, it's really better to give me the idea because I interpret the cards, and this is my advice to you, is interpret the cards to answer the question. Answer the question, right? So for all the dozens of things one card could mean, connect it to the question. Connect it to the context of the question. How many times do I say? In the context of the question, I'm a broken record. Well, the historical meanings, what are they? I mean, I don't know that I use historical meanings. I have meanings that I made up for myself, my numerical associations aren't necessarily historical. They're just what I came up with. Because it seems universal, It seems like it seems that we can make certain associations with certain numbers. But remember, like over in Asia, I think the number 4, I think it's number 4, I think means death, So for in our culture, 13 would mean death, right? Or association with that. I think it's 4 in Asia. So it's not necessarily universal. So you just keep that in mind. But this is a Western system. Cards, it is a Western cultural game. And do you like the Etruria Minchiati? I finally found one and it's gorgeous. Yeah, it is gorgeous. I have a few. I think I have a few of those. I've probably showcased them. One thing to remember, 6 Well, do I say six is a very good number or six is a perfect? Six is a perfect number. Get it right now. Yeah. It comes a time in your life that you start giving zero right. Yep. Keep punching this right. Yeah. Context of the question, you know. And that, definitely is the very important thing is to answer the question. And then if somebody wants to play, stump the psychic or whatever, you'll get a general read, where a card could mean 100 different things. So let's see, I think there was one more deck I had here, and that was the Visconti Sforza. And, I'm not pulling out all of Marco's decks because I can tend to be like a, Marco Benedetti channel, but there are other decks that I've had, before. And this one was Il Meneghello's. Now, I'm not really sure I love the quality of this deck, the cardstock quality, but yeah, somebody likes this. But I do like the historic decks. I do. Now, what I was talking about, the numerical playlist, or numerology, right? My way of teaching myself when I really got serious about like what do these triumph cards mean was to do as much research as I could about why they were created and what were they supposed to represent. And it's been 600 years, and so some of our speculation on what they could have represented, we could be off. But to the best of my knowledge, I try to understand why certain imagery was created in the first place. Now, Gertrude Moakley, and I've referenced her book. I have a playlist called Women in Tarot, and Gertrude Moakley and her book are featured in that playlist. So it's Women in Tarot, Gertrude Moakley. And she came on the scene and identified, hey, these triumph cards, some of them could be, in fact, a reference to Petrarch's poetry, and that made a lot of sense. And then I think I've done a lot of videos on that too. But, I have almost 900 videos, and good luck finding it. Sometimes, and okay, going back to this one, the woman, the earlier cards, the Visconti deck, it was a woman charioteer. And remember, this deck was created as a wedding gift, right? So to commemorate, I guess, I think Visconti was commemorating his daughter's marriage to Sforza, I think, and she was represented as a virtuous woman, an accomplished woman. So we see the charioteer as somebody who's accomplished, right? Or who's successful or whatever. And so before to have been a woman in the context of why the deck was created, it shows that, hey, she's an accomplished woman. You're getting a pretty good prize by marrying my daughter, in other words. So I always really like to go to the source with anything. If I try to understand, I was a teacher before, well, not before, but I was a teacher, concurrently with my tarot life and other things I did. And I learned as a kid, and I realized that I had a learning disability, but I only learned that after I became a teacher, because I was like, oh my God, I have a learning disability. So I had so I became very aware of kids who had learning disabilities. And the way I taught my elementary kids, I've taught every class from K through 12, but my favorite was elementary, before they get fresh. But I taught in my classes, as though every child had a learning disability. I just taught that way because you never know who does. And I knew I did. And one of the things I learned, getting back to my topic, what I was trying to say is, if you understand what's behind something, then you can grab the concept. How many times teachers will say, here's facts and here's this and here's that, and especially when it came to math or when it came to history, and it was like, well, why did that happen? I mean, I can say like 17 something, this happened, but what was behind it? And if you can understand the concept behind something, then you grasp the concept And that's all I'm trying to say with tarot. If you understand the origin stories, it really helps, and just like with justice, you know, justice is a universal concept. You might not have to dig any deeper than that. And I like the old ones because we have the hourglass instead of the lantern. But Maestro, he's been dead a number of years. It's not easy to shuffle. Absolutely. It's definitely not easy to shuffle. I have a lot of Ilmenit Geller decks from when, he was alive. I mean, the lid doesn't stay on, for this one. This one has to lay flat and it can't be in a tenuous kind of, it doesn't, there's no magnetic closure or anything. And, but they are beautiful. Yeah. Who said that? Alder Moon. Allie, yeah, I truly believe the Visconti Tarot was revolutionary for putting women as pages. Yeah, because the way the Mamluk cards came, well, there were no images of anybody because they weren't allowed to have human references on their cards. But it was definitely like a male dominated kind of thing. And then when the card game kind of infiltrated, I guess maybe via, I'm not positive, but Morocco with the Spaniards, and then the Spaniards brought it, that kind of thing. It was very enlightening that they put women in pages. And to this day, I see, it's particularly when we see pages or knights of coins and cups, because you have every right not to see that the same way I see it. But when I see pages and knights of coins and cups, I always offer the opportunity to say that it could be a woman. It could be representing a female. All the cards could. I mean, even if we were to pull a king of batons, when we're doing a reading for a woman, it could represent an aspect of her that's like that. But I'm just saying, if there are people if you're trying to identify people, or you're trying to understand a situation, and there's a dynamic of a lot of people, sometimes when suits of cups and coins pop up and there's a page or a knight, I could see those as being feminine. Yes, they did, Pamela. They did. They actually fought on the field in armor. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So, wow, we've already been here for over an hour. That's amazing. I don't think I've ever done an hour. Have I done an hour video? Yeah, you're right. Also, all court cards could be either gender. Yes, I think that's what you meant to say, for sure. Yeah. I'm not going to argue with that at all. And I think I just mentioned that, a king of batons could reference some aspect of myself, Ooh, I hope not, but yeah, you know what I mean? But I especially, can see the coins and cups, because that's what I think the Italians did. The Italians identified the coins and cups as the feminine suits. And so where they were, but some all four, there were additional cards to the whole deck, because there were each gender for each court, right? So there's that too. Oh, you're swell. Oh, I'm so glad you are enjoying this, either gender. Yeah, I think I already said that. Well, you guys are just great. A well spent 1 hour with, oh, you guys are awesome. You guys are really kind. But it's been over an hour, and I know some of you probably have things to do and places to go. And, I feel a lot better. Oh, can you explain why you call the Page of Cups your boyfriend? You know what, Allie? I'm not really sure, but there was something about him, the one that like, let me get to the answer the question about my Page of Cups. He's got the flower in his hair, a wreath in his hair. He's got like a hat in his hand. He's got a chalice that's covered. Those are the ones that I really identify with, because I guess I was fascinated by him. And then I just had this, I started to have this fascination with what's in his hand. I guess it's a hat. Some people argue that it's a chalice lid. Could be. I wasn't there. I don't know. Nobody does, right? And in some decks, it is a chalice lid in his hand. But when it's a hat in his hand, he's got a wreath on his head. So he kind of became a little bit of a conundrum for me. Like, what's going on with this kid, And so because I was going through this phase of fascination with him, I just started calling him my boyfriend. So it just sort of stuck. How do you pick up on the negative aspects of a card when they're all upright? Well, I try to pay attention to the elemental considerations like fire and water next to each other, or surrounding each other, or air and earth, surrounding each other. That can pick up some tension and friction. Or if a triumph card is in the middle of, or near cards that are in conflict with one another, it could show, like a negative aspect of the triumph card. But I'll tell you the honest truth, and that plays a role. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't, and maybe it's because subconsciously I can like see all that and articulate it in my head without even recognizing that it's because of air and earth or water and fire. But I guess with experience, you just start to pick up and understand, And it might have to do with being able to like see the cards that are around it and just kind of instantly recognize that there's friction, and then I can pick it up. That's how I do it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right way or the only way. The thing is, now I call all my Pages of Cups Marilyn's boyfriend. And now, because I call my grandson, he's 2. My God, he's like the cutest little boy on the planet. Oh, he's so adorable. And I call him my little boyfriend. So now when the card pops up, like I think, if I'm doing a reading for myself, when that little card pops up, I think, is that about my grandson? Is he popping up in the read? Well, I must say, you guys have lifted my spirits, and I do feel better. I guess maybe I had a little bit of a nervous stomach then. Maybe that's what it was. I figured, Have you talked about Sibylla playing cards? When is your next class? I don't really just have classes. What I do is I have, I think, 7 or 8 pre-recorded videos that I created a number of years ago that I have in my arsenal. And when somebody wants the class, I just release the card. I release the videos to them, and that's it. I don't. I used to like do classes one-on-one, where friends were to join together and then they took the class together. But I learned that when you have multiple people in a class, I go farther and farther and farther and farther away from the point that I want to make about, which is fine. But I just learned that if I want to give them certain information, and I put it out there, and then you absorb it. Because I found when I had classes with a couple of individuals, I would get interrupted so frequently, that we were like an hour into class where I should have been wrapping it all up because this is the content that I wanted to give. But I was answering questions and I was getting diverted, and it was just like, it wasn't working out. My daughter calls the Queen of Swords Mom. Ah, the Queen of Swords. Okay. That's cute. Yeah. This morning when I was taking my shower of all times, I was thinking about like, what card am I, And I've never really, I don't know. When I was younger, I thought of myself as the Queen of Cups because I'm very emotional. I'm very, what's the word? Compassionate, empathetic, all those things. And then I started learning um, to turn that stuff off, like I mentioned earlier. And I've also learned that I have as much as I wasn't like I was thinking of myself as an empathetic, compassionate person, which I am, but I'm also highly analytical. And like when situations begin to arise, I pick up on it really quick and I'll have analyzed every aspect of that situation before anybody even notices that there's a situation. I'm talking about like people in my inner circle. Sometimes I could do it with politics. I'll figure something out. I'll see something brewing and I'll say, I think this is what's going on here. And then months later, it surfaces that that's what was brewing. So I do have a very analytical brain, which is probably why I'm good at tarot, because I can make connections between cards immediately. Um, so in some regards, I could say I'm the Queen of Swords because I think like the Queen of Swords probably, but I don't express like the Queen of Swords. And then I think I'm like the Queen of Coins because I'm the matriarch and I'm the mama bear, you know? And so I identify with that too. And the only one I probably don't identify with much is the Queen of Batons. And it's not like I don't have attributes of the Queen of Batons, but it's probably because what I like least about myself is probably what I like least about the Queen of Batons. I think there could be some truth to that. So the aspect of myself that I find least attractive, is probably represented by the Queen of Batons, because that's the only card I don't ever really identify myself with. And like I said, it's not because I don't have qualities. When people, and it kind of makes sense in a way, because when people hate a group or they suppress a group, I mean, I'm convinced that one of the reasons that these Calvinistic evangelists hate everybody is because they recognize there's qualities in themselves and they want to suppress it. That's what it seems like to me. If you're not afraid of something, why suppress it? You only suppress stuff, when you're afraid. So, and I think they're afraid of what they see in themselves. Anyway, this is getting long. And I just want to thank all of you for being here. And I'm going to probably take a nap. But I will get back to this because there may have been people that I missed. Oh, the Sibylla cards. Oh, thank you. I forgot to mention the Sibylla cards. You did mention that. I have a few. I have quite a few Sibylla cards. But I'm not an expert on that. You probably would be better suited or better, it would be a disservice for me to talk about them. There's probably other people on YouTube that could probably help you out better, but with the Sibylla cards, although I do have quite a few. I love them all too. I love all cards. I love regular playing cards. I love whenever I go someplace, I'll always get a deck of cards from that place, even if they all look the same and the only thing that's different is the back of the cards. I just have been, and I was collecting playing cards years before I started collecting tarot. Cards fascinate me. The whole 52 card thing and the 4 different seasons and the 4 different suits and then the 13 weeks and all that. It's just like, oh, who knows? I mean, it could just be a happy coincidence that it all works out like that, or there could be something way back that it's about. I don't know the truth. Thank you. I think I will do this again. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you. And I thought this was for members only. Maybe before I sign off, you could tell me if you're chatting and you're not a member. I intended this for members only. So let me know if you're not a member, because thank you for your presence. Yes, thank you for thanking them for me, Sebastian. And okay, and I will make it a point eventually to open those cabinets and show you what's where. I'll be honest with you. It's occurred to me to do that, but there's a certain amount of security that I want to preserve. You know what I'm saying? Um, but every freaking window and door and room in this house has security and cameras and all kinds of stuff and alarms. So, but I am like concerned about that to some degree, just putting it out there. But maybe I'll put it out there for members only. Thank you. And was there anyone here who's not a member? I'm a member. Okay, good. So I'm not, I meant, not that I don't want to, not that I won't ever do these for my general subscribers. And I think that general subscribers can watch. I think so. They just can't engage in the live feed of chatting. But I thought, like, my first one, I thought I'd just do it for my members, because I really feel like I owe just something, especially since I blew it with with the contest. Oh Lord have mercy. What a fiasco that was. And I just felt motivated to do something special for you guys. Anyway, I know Sebastian's like thanking everybody. And thank you to Sebastian as well. So I guess it's time to sign off. So I think I will, everyone. Thank you very much. Take care, everyone. Until next time, peace, stay well, be brave, and be kind. And thank you, everyone who was present. And thank you, Sebastian, for everything you did to help make this possible today. Now I have to figure out how to turn it off. Oh my goodness. I guess I hit the X. I guess it's as simple as hitting the X, so that's what I'm going to do. Are you sure?